Welcome to the Blast Network. I'm Jennifer Glegerich, and I'm here today with Tracy Jo Hopkins, Tracy Becker, and Nancy Gabberty, my fellow Blast co-creators and guest hosts, and we want to thank you all for joining us. The Blast Network was founded so we could reach those of you like us who are living your life on purpose and reaching out spiritually, emotionally, and even in your business endeavors to live your life in authentic and balanced ways. Who are we? Well, we are ICF Epic Coaches. Tracy Becker is a licensed professional counselor, transformational coach who specializes in advanced energy healing and meditation techniques. She also happens to have the most downloaded meditation apps on Omvana through iTunes and Google Play. Tracy Jo Hopkins is a technotherapist and has made a name for herself by working with such amazing companies like Salesforce.com. She's a coach and mentor for anyone who uses or needs to use technology and social media. I'm a certified business coach and mentor. I own Jennifer Marketing. I'm a managing partner in 9 gaming company, and I'm the HR manager for Mauve International. This week, we are very excited to be joined by Nancy Gabberty. Nancy is a functional medicine metabolic specialist, a certified nutritionist, a GFCF diet counselor, biomedical detective, healthy lifestyle coach, defeat autism now pregnant, corporate wellness speaker, author, TV series guest. She's a lot. Her mission is to assist others with healing, and we're so excited to have her this month for a very important topic. We're all here because we have a burning desire to share our unique and complementary skill sets with you, because we're all going to change the world. So here we go. If you have a question, type it in or email us, and we'll be happy to answer it live or via email after the show. Today's topic is going to be led by Tracy Becker, and it focuses on the grind, how to find joy and pleasure in everyday routine. So take it over, Tracy.
Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to be here today. And the grind, well, you know, it's just the perfect time of year. When I was making the topics for the year and I was thinking of September, I mean, that's really just about summer ending for most folks. That means vacations ending, school starting, and things just getting back to that routine. And it often is a very difficult time for individuals and families, and it can cause a lot of disappointment and frustration, a little bit of depression. It's an adjustment is what it is, and leaving that more freedom that we usually have in the summers and the long days here in the U.S. and all these things planned on the weekends and the gatherings and the going here and the vacations and all of that stuff. So, but getting back to school gets back to the routine and long days at school, at work, homework, all the sports activities, and this, that, and the other, and trying to squeeze everything in that was a little bit more laxed over the summer. So, as one of the things that I have seen throughout the years in working with individuals and families is that most often the big mistake people make around this issue is not planning. That they just like, oh, heck, school's going to start, and they rush into the store to get in the school supplies, and then the day school starts, it's everybody running hairy-scary around the house and the kids out the door, and there really is very little preparation time. And I really always encourage people to take a couple weeks and start that preparation with going ahead and starting to get up early and making that planning. And some kids, some kids have a really high sensitivity to change, and so this is a really big issue for them, and they'll start acting out a week or two into school, or even, a couple months into school. It might take, well, it builds up is what it does. And so really helping them, find some ways for self-soothing, find them ways to just acknowledge that it's stressful to go into a school and to be around people that you don't know, and especially if they're empathic kids and they have a sensitivity to the energy around them, teaching them ways to protect themselves, whether it was with prayer or visualizations or things like that. But also with the families, the parents. If your mood is grumpy, your kids' moods are more than likely going to be grumpy. If you're tired and agitated and frustrated and snappy, same thing's going to happen. But there's so many things that come into play. And so it's really about, for me and my practice and the people that I work with, it's really about setting that preparation. Don't let it sneak up on you. Don't let it just seem like, oh, it's just another day. Really give it some validity, some validation that this is a big change in our routine. It's a big change in our life. It's a whole new year. It's a whole lot of new dynamics for each of the kids. That means it's a whole new dynamic for the parents. And really creating space to allow that to happen and to own it. And so if we know that's going to happen, what is the best way that we can nurture that? What is the best way that we can bring about more success instead of more frustration, more crankiness? One of the things, is that time management. Really get on top of that time management. Really find a routine and talk about it and have family meetings about it beforehand, or even right now, it's not too late. Really look at the sleep habits of, most of the kids here in the U.S., they get so little time once they spend so much time at school, maybe because the bus ride's really long, or they've got sports activities. And some of them aren't getting home and getting started on their homework till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, especially high schoolers, and they're getting up at 5 or 6 to do it all over again. That's not sustainable. That's not realistic. That's not healthy habits of living. So look at the time management. Look at sleep. Look at diet and exercise. Look at just downtime. When do we have just downtime where the family just sits around and is together, or you have quiet time where you just either get to be reading or meditating or just sitting outside and listening to the birds chirp. So, and also one of the other things that we're all going to continue to talk about here through the day is one of the most valuable times that I think that we have to really connect and be intentional and committed is in the car. So if you're driving your kids to the car, or even if you have a commute to work, even if it's a short commute, it's what am I listening to? Am I listening to the news? Am I listening to country, western, or rock radio? What am I feeding my mind at that time, and how is that helping me? Is it helping me or not? I think a really good time in the car is an opportunity that most of us miss out on, listening to inspiring stuff, engaging in even some music that really is more tranquil and allows your mind to rest and stop going through that racing mind. The bottom line is the society that we've created right now is one that's based on high stress, high anxiety, racing, do. Your success is measured in most venues by how much you accomplish, and that's just it doesn't work for a healthy lifestyle. I'm in the middle of this grind thing. I just came off a vacation with my husband to Iceland, but what a beautiful country where the mall, we were really staying pretty close to the country's largest mall, and we just said, well, let's go over there and see what it's like. Most days the mall opens at 11, never opens earlier than 11. I think Sundays at 1 or 2. Opens at 11 o'clock and closes at 5. Maybe 2 days a week at 7, and only 1 day a week, and that's a Thursday. It's open to 9, and on Sundays it's just open like 3 or 4 hours. So everybody is going home. The days don't start to 11. Everybody's going home by 7 o'clock at night, and a lot of that's because they have such long daylight hours, especially in the summer. But it's very family oriented, and it was just so soothing. You would just see the and all the schools are right in your community. There was not one school bus. There was general buses, transit, but there was no school buses because the kids walked to school, and so you would see the dads going to get their kids and walk them home. You'd see the teenagers were at the mall in the afternoon where they'd stop by on their way home and meet each other and have a coffee or a soda or something and then walk home. But it's really just, it's a lifestyle, and we unfortunately here in the States have created one that's high pressure, and it is as family oriented. So it really is up to each individual and each family, and we're here together. We want to change that to we just got to do it one person at a time, one group at a time, one community at a time to really change that to more people oriented and more humane humane, peaceful, joyful, purposeful ways of being together. So
I guess that's kind of like saying lead by example. Lead by example, right? So, you know, if you want the change the world, you got to lead by example.
Yeah, so I know Nancy's got some information that really builds on what I just said, so I'm going to let her speak up, and, you know, we all just talk whenever we feel like it, but have at it, Nancy.
You know, it's interesting because in my practice, I see younger and younger kids coming in with anxiety. And before it used to be high school and college students, and now it's from 3rd grade that their parents come in and they're anxious, and they're, you know, it's all about this state testing that they do, and the schools put so many demands, but then sometimes I don't know if it's their peers or if it's the parents that also feel that the kids have to be constantly doing something. So, you know, I have 2 boys now, they're teenagers, but we would always really love our summer vacations because that's when we would rejuvenate and we would rest and not have any schedule whatsoever. But for preparation for the school year, we would anticipate before the school list came out what supplies they needed. We knew they needed notebooks and pencils and pens and all that stuff, as opposed to running to the store and waiting on long lines, because now the schools are giving the list usually at school the first day or the day before. So you mentioned about preparation, it's key, but it's also great to keep the vacation piece during the year. So, you know, as opposed to thinking vacation is only in the summer, if you keep pictures of, you know, your favorite parts of the vacation visible, if you keep something, if you went to the beach and you keep something like a shell or a stone, something to remind the child and yourself as well that you had so much great time there, and now center your day. So the schedule gets so busy, and what I see with many families, and including myself, it's all about preparation, getting up really early, because if you stress and if it's down to the wire and then something changes in your morning routine or you hit traffic and now the child's going to be late, and then it has a ripple effect because then you may be late for work or wherever you're going. Everybody's stressed out. And if you wake up perhaps a half an hour, an hour earlier and have, you know, clothes laid out, school bags packed, have your meal plan thought out at least for 3 or 4 days, it just takes the stress off, you know. And I know, like, for my husband, he leaves at 2 in the morning, so I'm all by myself in the morning. And I always say single parents in the morning is a lot because you have to, it's all on you. And, you know, you have to get everything done, and you have to get yourself ready as well. So if you just go to bed earlier, which is not easy to do, I can't tell you how many patients I see, none of them are going to bed early. So even if you could try to go to bed a half an hour earlier, then an hour earlier each night, so then you could get up earlier, have everything planned out, laid out, and talk to your child and say, hey, look, this is why we have to get to bed earlier. You know, when you're at school, if you have any free time, work on your homework as opposed to staying in the cafeteria. You know, you need to manage your day better as well. But I do see that if there's preparation and we're starting the day off right with some type of daily mantra, finding gratitude in something. I woke up. It's, you know, I'm breathing. What can I be grateful for? Listening to some meditative music as opposed to, you know, if you listen to the lyrics of some of the songs, they're very negative. And that's what the kid, you know, how you say, oh, I can't get that song out of my mind. Well, the child is the same way. So put something peaceful, and then feeding the child. 75% of the kids I see go off to school without eating any meal. So their bodies are being fueled on what they ate last night. And it may not have any protein, so they could be sluggish, and then they can't focus at school. And many of them are not drinking water. They're having either chocolate, and they're having something that's stimulating them. So you really have to look at the whole lifestyle. what type of motivation and inspiration, what are you giving your child, what type of mood you're in, how flexible you are to deal with changes that get thrown your way, and then the whole day, how did everybody eat? Did we communicate? Are we getting to bed late? And are we doing too many things every day? And what can we cut out of our routine to take a step back? Because the adrenal systems are definitely depleted, not only from our food, from the environment, and then there are certain nutritional markers like B6 and vitamin C. They're depleted, so the body's not getting any balance. And we have to put the balance in with our food, with our water, with our sleep, but our mindset as well has to be connected. You know, that's what I'm seeing a lot of, and that's when people put more water in and food and put more mental thought into why am I spending time doing this when instead I could be relaxing, meditating, or sleeping, then things start to shift the right way. You know, and making it a family affair, you know, everyone, not just, oh, that's for the kids, you know, it's got to be for the parents as well, the siblings as well, and then it really seems to mesh better.
I have a question. Oh, sorry, Tracy.
No, go ahead.
My question is because starting anything new is always just, you know, that big change is always like, oh my God, it's like huge. But we all know good habits take, what, 3 weeks, 21 days? So would you suggest, like, let's say they're doing, I mean, there's a lot of people, like you say, not going to work or even school with food, not drinking enough water, or they have too much sugar in the morning, or they need to exercise, or even having that family time, that spending time. Would you suggest, let's say, you know, if it's a family, maybe a game, just say, okay, this week, not this week, this three weeks, every day, this morning, we're all going to chug a big glass of water. And it's going to be, you know, just chugging it, you know, and then that's what you have that morning family time together or something like that. Because I know when we do need to change. We really do. We need to be healthy. We need to have our minds healthy and spirit and everything. But I know a lot of people, like, where do you start? And just to take that sugar out of the way or take something like cold turkey scares a lot of people.
It's true.
But, you know, yeah, do you have any suggestions like that?
And that's a great question because it's overwhelming. So when people get overwhelmed, they get paralyzed and they don't do anything, right? So that's
me.
So it's like I would put things into steps, you know. So it's interesting you said that because after doing this for 15 years, people are like, listen, if you give me a step-by-step, like color by numbers, I'm going to do it. You know, and then we phase it in, not like, okay, you got to do step one, day one. No, like you said, it takes several, about 3 weeks to get that habit going. So if you did one step every 3 weeks, you know, you add that up and you're like, okay, in a few months, we're going to be all on the same par. I actually just filmed a 9-step program. It was originally 12 steps, but it had too many correlations with other 12-step programs. And people, this is supposed to be positive. This is all going to enhance you. So I would look at what area is the most imbalanced, right? So if we're getting to bed at midnight, and adults as well as kids need sleep, and teenagers need so much sleep as well. So I would say, okay, let's get to bed a half an hour earlier this week, right? And then we either want to do that for 3 weeks. I would add something new in every week. So if we could get to bed a half an hour earlier, and then let's drink water as opposed to sugar. You know, look at the sugar grams. We shouldn't be having more than 22 grams of sugar on a daily basis, yet a sugary drink could have 49. So right there, wow, what does that do? That raises your excitotoxins, and that depletes your adrenal system. And there's no recovering at that point. You really have to get rid of the excitotoxins and bring up like the dopamine and the serotonin. So I would go with the sleep, I would go look at the sugar, drink more water, and I would definitely start the day with a type of protein for breakfast. One is vegan. We could get other protein sources as well. But we have to think of balance, and we don't usually eat balanced meals anymore. So that would be the key, is the breakfast, the sleep, the water at the least. The mindset is very important as well, so that, we got to throw that in too.
One of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking, Nancy, and talking about the vacation and reminding each other vacation, I know for myself and even my husband, it's like once we get back from vacation, if we're not planning something else, that it doesn't have to be a vacation, so to say, but that if, within the month or 6 weeks that we're doing something that maybe is just a day off or going somewhere that we really like to go and get out of that routine, let the house be dirty for an extra day or two, whatever, that we've got something planned, that's something to look forward to. So I would say, for families to make sure that you're doing that despite all these need to and have to things that come up. Let the family and the rejuvenation and the fun times of the family be more important than some of those have tos.
Yeah, that's like a family tradition. So like when I was younger, my dad worked 3 jobs to put us all into private schools and everything else, and only on Sundays was he really there for the whole day. So we would call Sunday Family Day. And we would go either into the city, to the museum. We would go somewhere. Either we would go to a park, something. And I know, like, even a few towns over, there's a beautiful park where it reminds me of Bermuda, and I'm not in Bermuda, right? But just going there is very refreshing. Mm-hmm. So, yes, breaking the routine. And it could be, something outdoors. It doesn't have to be expensive. But just to break the routine. And yeah, you know what? The house could be cleaned another time. The dust will collect no matter what. Exactly. But that's a great idea as well.
Yeah.
I often talk to people about that, because people always think of vacations, it has to be someplace else. You just have to go somewhere and you have to spend money. And there's so many free things you can do. Like, I had a friend, she had a baby, and I had a colicky. My son was colicky. He's great now. But when he was an infant, my grandmother, of all people, said, well, just walk outside for a second. And so he'd be crying and crying. I would have tried everything in the world, and I would open up the door and literally just step out. And he would go, huh. And he would stop crying, and his little face would look around, and it was just a change. He just got sick of being in the house. So sometimes, and I just remembered that little vacation for him was just something different. Sometimes it's just going into your backyard or playing with the dog, or sometimes the vacation is picking up a book. Sometimes you just have to stop, and if it involves outdoor air, if it involves a book, not a book, but if it involves, it can involve a book, but movement of some kind. You physically moving from that place you're at, whether it's at your office, think of, back in the days when people would smoke. Well, you don't have to be a smoker to go outside and just take a little bit of a break, So I think sometimes that those vacations can be inner vacations too. I'm going to get up, I'm going to move myself, I'm going to move a little bit, I'm going to stretch, I'm just going to get up for a moment. And I think that helps a lot of people too.
Change that perspective, We have a hammock in the backyard, and it's under this beautiful tree, and it just, can go out there for just 5 minutes and just swing on the hammock, and I'm just like, woohoo, I feel so good. So those mini vacations, make sure everybody gets them, right?
Even driving if you have to go to the same location, driving a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You always go the same way. Sometimes you forget, like, how did I get there? I'm here. Where did I go? Because it's so routine. But if you go a different way, or even if you're walking, if you walk the same way, but then now you go a different way, you see so many new things. And they were there, but now you've noticed them.
And one of the things I've taught people to do, too, and this seems so silly, but I bet every time you get in the shower, you start with the same body part every time. But like consciously making the decision to start with a different body part, or on the different, if you start at the top, maybe start at the bottom next time. But really changing any routine like that, really, it starts the rewiring your brain differently. It helps that to get unstuck and bring you back in the present. So.
Is that the same thing as getting another haircut, like a new haircut? Is that?
I think you like it, right? It doesn't work out too good if you don't.
That is so true.
So, Tracy Jo, I know that you had a piece about forgiveness and all this, and I think it's a really big, important piece. So we're going to let you start on that.
Okay. My big thing is I realized going through this topic of the grind and that kind of thing, and I realized myself being in the grind in my own life, that kind of thing, and it gets changed up a lot. And then therefore I don't follow my set thing where I'm going to listen to some music that's very soothing, get myself on the mindset before I go to work, that kind of thing, and then something bam just changes it. And then you start feeling guilty because the next day or 2 or 3 or 4 or a week or so later you're still not doing what you used to do. And you learn that you have to forgive yourself for that and just let it go and just don't focus on what you didn't do. I know that I didn't do it, but today I'm changing it and I'm going to go forward. And just really, really forgive yourself for whatever you didn't like that you weren't doing that you were doing before. I know a lot of people get overwhelmed, and then like Nancy was saying, you freeze and you don't do what you wanted to do, and just to get past that forgiving stage really sets you on the right path. Even if it keeps happening over and over again, you don't get that habit right after the first week, you go back again, you know what? Forgive yourself again. There's no set how many times you're supposed to forgive yourself and then you punish yourself, that kind of thing. You need to really just, when you recognize it, forgive yourself and then just put a smile and go forward from there, and just know that what, from today on now I'm going to do my best. Not my best. I'm going to do what I need to do. And if I fail, you know what? It's okay, because it's okay where I'm at right now. And I'm going to get up and do it again. And I'm going to try again. And you really do need to forgive yourself. And I've had to really, really forgive myself a lot for doing it, because I have been set off course, whether it's time changes with jobs or just big incidences that just really put me on my backside, and I just, you go numb with it and you don't do what you need to do and do the things that you enjoy, love teaching, love coaching and that kind of thing, and then that gets on the back burner. Why? Because I'm in my mind guilty that I didn't do it. Right. So it's a recurring thing. Yeah. So I think I have to, well, not just me, whoever needs to just forgive themselves. Yeah, I was in this phase, but you know what? I choose to be out of this phase. I love myself enough. I forgive myself. Let's go. Let's party. Let's move on.
Well, I think so much of that is true, because, and there's so much self-forgiveness, I mean, is the biggest thing, I think, for most people. Because when we mess up, we're out of our integrity, we break agreements with ourselves, and that really creates a discordant relationship between ourselves and ourselves. And the longest relationship you're going to have in your life is the one that you have with yourself. And if you're not repairing that and acknowledging that and accepting that and forgiving that, you won't be able to move forward. Pretty soon all that distaste, right? You get disrespectful of yourself and your self-loathing, and it's in the back of the mind and it's little quiet whispers, but it's really running the show, So that self-forgiveness, I mean, even an exercise of writing down things of everything that you think you need to forgive yourself for would be beneficial if you let yourself off the hook, But it's true, it's difficult to move forward with any true progress and any true lasting sustainable change without that step.
I think also when you're in the grind, when you're in the grind, when you are being very busy, you have a lot on your plate, and you're doing what you need to do, it is very easy, and if you're not prepared, like Nancy says, it's very easy to get off track for a lot of people, because not everybody's in a good mindset to start out with. If you're not starting out with, you really have to slow down. So when you acknowledge it, like you said, you really do have to just forgive it and just move on. Just kind of like almost like wash your hands and just say, let's go, let's get on that path again. Because preparing, you really do need to prepare yourself, whether it is just focusing for a few minutes and just meditating, or segment intending, if anybody knows about that, or preset your day in your mind before you leave the day. Because if you really don't, and then that grind can get you much faster, and you could get out of whack much faster, and the stress will start getting on there, and then it just you won't be able to forgive yourself until you acknowledge it, and you don't know if that's going to be a day later or not. But if you're already preset, just be open to, you may make mistakes, or a mistake might be made, but you know what, be easy enough to forgive it and just let it go, and not hang on to it, because what is it, you're living in the past when you relive that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and what it requires is that you're going to have some quiet time, right, to even recognize that. And
right.
You're going to have that mindfulness. And I know that, Jennifer, you want to talk a lot about the distractions, and mindfulness is just kind of totally perfectly segues into this. And if you don't have that mindfulness, if you don't have that time to sit aside for that self-evaluation, that self-awareness, that self-actualization, then you're just going to skip right over it and wonder why you're not happy and why you keep banging into the same brick wall.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about forgiveness, I couldn't help but think about, I have someone who just recently went through a stroke in my life, and they were in good health, but they were not living a good life. They had let so many distractions take over that they had been sleepwalking, and they had literally let their life go into a complete tailspin. So they wake up in the stroke, and they have a felony conviction against them, or well, it's pending, and their career is ruined, their life is ruined, and they realize that they had not been a good person. They had literally let distractions of different things take them so out of the present that they were in another world as their life exploded. And when you talk about forgiveness, this is what happens. They had needed to get rid of resentments, but mostly resentments against themselves that they had kept since they were childs, since they were little kids. And they had let this inability to forgive themselves manifest into a lot of psychological issues and life issues and everything else. So forgiving yourself, you can do it any time, but knowing that your natural state is wellness. Your natural state as a being wellness is so very important. You're just going back to you. You're not being selfish. You're not being self-centered in any way. What you're doing is trying to forgive yourself and try to go back to that natural state. I don't know if that makes sense. Do you get what I'm saying on that?
Oh, yeah. No, it's perfect sense, right? You're not here to be sick. You're not here to be mentally sick, stressed out, physically ill. I mean, you're here to have a full and joyful experience of life, right?
Absolutely. Nancy, what did you think about that? I know sometimes Tracy Joe and I will just go, so where are you on that? We haven't heard from you a little bit before, Yeah,
I mean, I definitely, when I see people who are not healthy, there's so many aspects. Like I always say, this isn't just about nutrition or medicine. It's about what's going on. What are you holding on to? Lots of times people with stomach issues, they're holding on from things from their childhood. And it goes into anxiety. And we were, my theory is we were put onto this earth for a purpose. And the purpose was to enrich other lives while having an enriched life. And an enriched life, to me, is to have happiness and love and peace, and with that is health. So any sufferings or challenges that one has, if obviously we all learn from it, and through that we may find our higher calling. So when you mentioned about this person who had the stroke, it makes a lot of sense. Even if, so people may look at someone and say, wow, they have a great life because of what they have, but they don't know what's inside of them. And I think that our society is also built on that. Many people strive for the wrong things, and that would also you can't keep that facade up for so long. I deal with a lot of very wealthy people, so from the outside, people are like, wow, they have 5 houses, they have a Ferrari, they have this, they have that, and then I'm like, oh, but nobody knows how I'm working on the inside of their bodies are all messed up, and they're not happy, and they're not in a state of bliss whatsoever. So, you know, it all, the mind and the body and your purpose too. And then who is your God? Now, I'm not saying God, but is money your God? Is greed your God? What is, you know, what are you going for? So that also comes to play, you know, and you know, how do you treat others when no one's looking, you know? So.
Oh, absolutely. You're just speaking to me so much on this, and that is so right. You know, this one person was very wealthy. They were on the outside, they had everything. They went on hunting trips. They were physically in great shape before the stroke. They were very well-to-do. On the outside, they looked like they had everything, and they were the most miserable people. And so I'm going to the hospital, and I can't help. He goes, I just feel so less stressed now. And I thought, yeah. Because, you know, now it's all in the open. All these hidden things, you know, at one point the family that he had pushed away hadn't talked to some of them in years, or when he did talk, it was so contentious and awful, you know. I thought, I couldn't believe they even showed up, you know. And they laid hands on him, and he was like, I cannot believe you finally come back to me. You know, how you can talk in a stroke. They said, we were always here. It's you who had left. And the forgiveness and the love. And he never had felt it before. He was so blocked with emotional and energy blocks and physical blocks and blocks that he self-created because of a lack of forgiveness and a lack of so much had caused him not even to see the love and the happiness and everything was around him. So he had surrounded himself by wealth and stuff, and he lived in misery. So I understand that. I've seen it in just, you know, right in front of me. And I have a handout for today's show that really does go in. It's a very religious context, which is different considering I'm a business coach. I don't really talk about that very much, but I really kind of, this subject was so important to me, probably because of what I'm going through, you know, well, obviously right now, that I put distractions in the context of the 7 deadly sins. So I talk about how these sins can manifest into different distractions in the modern world, and how envy, social media, you know, people will spend hours on Facebook and Pinterest, and I talk about how distractions start from an emotional need or want. So if you think about this, you know, when you're done with your little Facebook session, are you feeling great about yourself, or are you feeling somehow down? If you're feeling down, don't do it. Don't watch reality TV. It's not reality. There ain't nothing real about that. You know, don't do things that make you feel poorly about yourself or your situation, or cause you to drift off like lust. That's kind of a fantasy land. It always starts out like that. The idea that something's better, you know, it starts out that little bit of envy, something's better on the other side. And before you know it, you're lusting, you're dreaming about the coworker, you know. But that person and that distraction is stopping you from seeing the beauty of your present situation with, let's say, your mate. The beauty of the little things they do, the bills that you pay together, the day-to-day things when they're there. And there are a million stories of people who rush out or don't rush out, but they have an affair. They think that this other person's going to be so darn great, and they end up with the same stuff and a different guy, same stuff, a different girl. And they, you know, how many people, you know, will leave, go to a new partner, and they think, what have I done? I had something great, and I never even noticed it, because they put so much time and energy in the fantasy and the distraction, in sucking away from the now, that they couldn't see everything in front of them. And that happens with so many different things until it just goes off. And so the idea of living in the present isn't this idea of we're all going to be kids and have food fights, with the idea of, well, who's going to clean it up because the food's going to rot all around us. You have to have that too, but it's the idea of being present in whatever you're doing. Tracy Becker, I remember once she talked about being present washing dishes. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yeah, you can. I remember when I was a kid, And I used to say, oh, I want to wash dishes, I want to do chores, let me vacuum. I got a son, an 8-year-old. He does that all the time. He approaches these chores in a completely different manner and way than I do them as something to loathe. And when I just take myself out of that and I put it in, well, this is cool. I've got this machine and it can suck things up and I don't have to rip up my carpet and take it outside and beat it with the broom. You know, by the time I'm done being in that little moment, it's not such an odious task. So there are ways to do it to where you can live in the real world, pay your bills, go to work, take care of your kids, and you still have much more enjoyment with your life. Rather, so many, you know, we have in just checking out through social media, checking out with the TV, checking out with the fantasy, checking out with, I talked about wrath. People have wrath. I think before the show we did a great meditation. And I talked about my ex and custody issues because I'm a single parent. And I talked about a daily exercise that I do in prayer. And one of the prayers, and in the handout, I actually write our entire nighttime prayer that we've said for years. You know, we tweaked it, but that's it. And that has helped bring that exercise, how small it is, has allowed me to have a completely different relationship with my ex. Is it great? You know, no. I mean, sometimes we're not even friends, but my child isn't suffering from it, and I'm able to appreciate small moments. For example, my ex will come and he'll take a little can of sardines and he puts it over the fence for our dog because the dog likes to eat sardines. And some people get so annoyed. Why are you at my house? Why are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. You don't live here. Stuff like that. I hear that all the time. But for me, I appreciate what a nice little gesture that he made. And I don't think of the bad stuff. So, you know, go ahead.
One of the things that you're talking about, Jennifer, that's so important is that the little things matter. You're saying one little prayer mattered, one little can of sardines mattered, and that's it. The little things matter more than we think of. I think most families, if you have a huge tragedy, you do pull together and get over that. I'm not saying all families do, but they usually do pull together and get over some big life-changing incidents. But on the daily basis and that daily grind, that daily routine, the little things matter, and just making that little bitty effort and that that little smile, that, you know, and the research for couples, and this goes for all relationships, it just happens to be researched by couples. You know, the couples that have had success for longevity have between 5 and 20 times more positive interactions per day than the couples that don't have success and longevity. And so that means in the daytime, that means you're saying, thank you, I appreciate that, you look good, this is so nice of you, I really appreciate that help, would you do that for me? And they always say yes. You know, just all of those little things, even just, you know, being the person that doesn't forget to pick up the milk, being the person that doesn't forget to put your wet towel in the hamper, being the person that, you know, sees something that needs to be put away and just grab it and put it away on your way into another room. It's just those teeny tiny little things, because when I do couples work, those are the things, and it's so hard for them to explain once they've gotten in there and the relationship has disintegrated so much. It's so hard, and they feel so silly saying, but if he just would stop leaving the towel, you know, there, or if she would just hug me, you know, all of those teeny tiny things, they make a huge difference.
100%. You know, and even when, you know, when you do it amongst each other with your mate and you have your kids there, they also do it. Like I have my teenagers who will thank me for cooking for them. I'm like, you don't have to thank me. And they're like, no, thank you so much. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, let me just accept that. Okay, you're welcome, you know. And they're like, oh, you're tired. Can we do the laundry, or can we do this? What can we do? They're always asking, what can we do? But it's only because they've seen that interaction. So, you know, as little, as small as one would think, these, you know, actions speak louder than words, but also words are nice too. And then that's role modeling. Like how you pray at night, it's role modeling for your son as well. I mean, that's fantastic. So he is able, you know, to have a good, positive vision of both his parents. You know, it doesn't matter how it is. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, I talked about, I think these, I mean, you're right, the small little things, but it's the small little changes, too, that can make a big difference. Some people get, and I think, Tracy Joe, you brought this up, so many people get overwhelmed. I have to change all this. You know, I am not 5 pounds overweight trying to get into my skinny jeans that I was able to wear 2 months ago. I'm 50 pounds overweight, or I'm 100 pounds overweight, and that's overwhelming. You know, and so it can be just little changes. Like I talk about the sin of gluttony, you know, and everybody, you know, it's kind of negative. But when you think about it, and I have this deadly distraction, I don't even think about it sometimes when I go to start to snack. I'm literally in a zoned out, completely distracted place. And I'm walking around, I open up the refrigerator, I'm supposed to be doing something at work, and I'm just staring at food, or I'm grabbing a bag of chips, or I'm grabbing something, and then before you know it, half the bag is gone. Well, I'm not being present and mindful in what I eat. So just making small changes of enjoying my food that I do eat more. A lot of people who have weight issues or gluttony issues, when I think about it, if you watch them eat, there's a big indicator. They are literally just huffing it down. They're eating as much as they can, the biggest mouthfuls they can, and it isn't even that the portions are so much. I can see people there are people, when I went to a nutritionist, I was getting gestational diabetes, I was completely stressed out, I was miserable, in my marriage, I was working 60+ hours a week, and it was just arduous. And I said, but I only eat like once a day and then and something else. My intake wasn't so huge, but yet I was just gaining. She said, well, you're starving yourself to death, and what do you eat? Well, I have this breakfast burrito thing I eat, then sometimes I'll have a little, like a bar thing for lunch and this. When she gave me my diet and gave me what I was supposed to do, I ended up feeling like I was eating all day long. It was literally a breakfast and a snack, and I had these times, and you got to do this, and I had to write it down. And I want you to take your time. So I felt like I was eating all the time, and I was losing weight at the end of my pregnancy. And I kept that on. Of course, I nurse, so nursing, you know, that, you lose a lot of weight doing that. But sometimes just the act of being mindful in the enjoyment of eating, you slow down. You enjoy it more. You think about, well, what do I really want for that next bite? I'm not just going to take that next bite because it's on my plate. I'm going to focus on the food that I enjoy. You get fuller quicker, and you end up eating a lot less. So just in that one little thing can help people, because it's the small things, it's the little things. So I think you're absolutely right with that, very much so.
I would always tell people before, because people are like, well, what do you eat? And I'm like, I eat all day, okay? But before I eat, I say to myself, what is this going to do for me? I have a relationship with my food. Is it a bad relationship, or is it a good relationship? So is this food going to nourish my skin, my hair, my eyes, or is it going all to the problem spots? You know, what is it doing? When I'm cognizant of what that food will do for me, then I could decide, well, am I going to eat it or not? You know, and it's really a shift in our relation. People don't have a relationship with food. Like you said, you just go through the day, people will just eat, and I'm like, well, why are you eating that? How does that make you feel? And they say, oh, I'm mentally foggy, I'm exhausted, oh, it hurts, I'm bloated. Okay, so now let's give you tasty food that's going to benefit your body and your thoughts, and now you feel good about yourself. So it's just another relationship with a coworker or a family member. It's a relationship with food. Right. And I think that's being in the moment and also listening to our senses. People have to listen to their senses. You know?
I also take it a step further. I've been studying a lot with Ho'oponopono, which is it's a clearing method, old Hawaiian clearing method. So if anybody want to look at Ho'oponopono, and there's 4 phrases in there. So when I'm drinking water, I actually say I love you and thank you. to the water, to the food, anything that's going in. And I have to say I've been doing it for the last couple months, and I have lost 25 pounds already. I'm not saying that that's exclusively for that, but my whole attitude towards what I'm putting in, and I'm taking more water in, and I'm taking more every time I have a big meal. It's got a salad with it, greens. I stay away from brown foods, if that makes sense. Anything brown is usually fried or coated or something. And so I make sure I have a colorful plate. But when I'm eating, I'm saying thank you, thank you, thank you, I love you, love you, love you. Because the big thing is if you love yourself and you're thankful to yourself, your body's just going to keep it being healthier and healthier. I mean, I look at my face now, I'm like, dang, my skin looks good. I mean, I don't know how it looks here, but I'm looking in the mirror. I usually hate mirrors. I don't like mirrors and stuff, but I'm like, wow, I don't look my age. You know, that kind of thing. And I think even with the grind and that kind of thing, even in the morning or when I'm on my way to work, I say thank you and I love you. I thank you, I love you. And it's, if you look up Ho'oponopono, I don't really want to go too much into it right now because we really don't have the time, but there's 4 phrases, and you don't even have to believe in it. You just say, I love you and thank you, or any of the 4 phrases, you know, you cannot help being a good vibration. So I have a good day when I do it. The food I come in, I like the taste. I mean, the water tastes better and crisper and colder and beautiful. The food I eat, I don't like complain that, oh, I have to eat the vegetables or this meat, or I'll pick up a piece of food and I have no problem putting it back down if it didn't taste right. Sometimes you fear that, if you don't eat everything on your plate, that kind of thing. And I have to say, it's been working for me the last couple of months. I'm like looking at the scale, I'm like, oh my gosh, it just lost another few pounds. I'm like, oh, you know what? If it's been working already, even though that might not be the direct way I did it, I'm still going to say it every day. Thank you, I love you, and it's water, the water, just really, because I know it's really healthy for you. And I've been less on the sodas, less, anything with sugar or even fake sugar. I've been trying to stay away from fake sugar too. And I have to say, even with the grind, it helps me to say in a busy day when I get overwhelmed, I start saying thank you and I love you, thank you and I love you, and for some reason I just calm down. Just, okay, my little 2 bits.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love that. I love that small change was able to make another change that made you feel good. And when you said, you're supposed to eat everything off your plate, I think that people who have scarcity issues in their past, people who've not had money in their past, they are more likely. You think, how come all these poor people are so obese and have obese problems? And I think sometimes it's kind of ingrained. I don't know when I'm going to eat again. I'm going to eat everything I can right now. I'm supposed to eat everything on my plate. Or, when they shop, they want to get something, and they take this with them even when they do have money. If you have $1, a lot of people forget for that $1, you could buy 1 head of lettuce, or you could buy 6 packs of ramen noodle soup. It's basically plastic, I think. I don't know what they make it out of.
Sugar. I mean, not sugar, it's salt.
Yeah,
it's
starch. Yeah, but you feel full a little bit. But it's very bad, it's very bad. So I think that some people, they think of it as there is nothing healthy for my income. There is, and I'm sure you could ask Nancy and she would help you on that, on exactly how to do that. And they also too have this idea of they have some guilt feeling or some guilt emotion by not eating everything on their plate. But we have to love ourselves more and forgive ourselves for wanting to be healthy. And that, that same theme, it's with any distractions, not just with eating, it's with children or work or other distractions that come in. It's that self-love and that, I'm going to say the godly love, that source energy love of just being the best. What's the best in this one moment? And the little small things. So I don't know. I love that, Tracy.
We do have 5 minutes. Does anybody want to add anything more to this, or have any comments or techniques?
Just think, part of the process is just what's your intention, and just really identifying your intention. Is my intention to just keep running on the rat race and keep doing what I've always done and be complaining and worn out and overwhelmed and and feel unfulfilling, and to watch my children do the same thing? Or is my intention to really bring some joy and some happiness, some health, some well-being, some mindfulness, forgiveness, acceptance, allowing, all of those yummy things? What is the intention, you know? And I think one thing that I talk to people about, especially business people, is like it's just your intention. Do you have a mission statement for your family? Do you have a mission statement for your life? It doesn't have to be something greatly written by any means, just because you all have it at your workplaces and you have it for your business. But, you know, it's, again, what's the intention? And just somehow recalling that every day. This is my intention. I'm really committed to that. And lining up with that, just really aligning up with that on a daily basis, or even a moment-by-moment basis.
And I think it's really good if you write it down. So you mentioned about a list before for the forgiveness aspect, and I just wanted to jump in. As far as the list, you know, it's great to either on a Monday and a Friday or on a daily basis say, what is the goal today? Or, you know, and either put it in your phone or on your computer and print it and put it somewhere, you know, on the refrigerator or on the mirrors so you could recite it and keep yourself. Because I think that we need the visual cues as well, and that would be helpful. Or put it in your wallet. But make it something that you could at least see once or twice a day to keep you into that moment as well.
Yeah, one of the things I've done with families is have them write their family values down, and then if I have working with the whole family, I'll have them each write one down on a piece of construction paper, and the kids will color it, and then every week they pick one of those values and they post it up on the refrigerator, and then all the conversation is about, what does this really mean? How did we apply this today? What can we learn about that? So if it's a value of happiness, a value of love, a value of teamwork or compassion or collaboration or any number of things, it's all individual for each family, and that really helps what you're saying, Nancy, to get things going and keep that focus going, and talk about it at dinner, you talk about it on your ride to school, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Great idea.
and like for those of you who do vision boards, you know, I have a vision board that's like sitting right over there that I look at, and I have pictures on the vision board, and I have different, you know, statements of abundance or prosperity or things. If you have a vision board, that's another great tool, and I keep mine out where my son can see it, and if he wants to add to it, and he's got little words in his thing, so it's just the subliminal. At some points, it's there. It's always, you know, going to be there. You want to put that out where you can see it. That's why, you know, people create that. But those are great ideas.
Definitely.
And your kids create their own vision board as well. So, you know, my kids always saw me create vision boards, and they were like, "Can we create our own?" And I was like, "Sure." And I see theirs hang up, and they did one for like what they want in their professional life and one in their personal life on both sides, and they hung it up in their rooms. And I'm like, okay, you know, again, role modeling, positive. They'll take that with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, planting those seeds.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. Well, it looks like we have about a minute and a half left, so let me give everybody a nice setup on everything. If you have any questions for Jennifer, Tracy Becker, or myself, you can go to info@TheBlastNetwork.com. If you want to speak to Jennifer directly, you'd be at Jennifer@TheBlastNetwork.com. If you want to speak to Tracy Becker, you can go to Tracy@TheBlastNetwork.com. You can also go to TracyBecker.com. She's actually got some 6 free meditations, just let you know. They're awesome. So you can go there as well. You can just contact me at TracyJo@TheBlastNetwork.com. And thank you to Nancy for being our guest host again today. You can actually contact her or even go to her website at NancyGuberti.com, and I'm going to spell it for you, NancyGuberti.com. And I would really encourage everybody to re-listen to this show, because we had some really great tips and some advice and some comments, and we would like to also hear from you. If you wanted to send something in, even a testimonial, we love to hear testimonials. You can send that to info@TheBlastNetwork.com. Anything new, Nancy, that you'd like to promote? Just wondering.
You know, if they want to follow on Twitter or Facebook, I usually put little help tips, tidbits that they can incorporate one step at a time, and then they could check out the 9 steps to healthy living that'll be on my website.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I highly encourage you to go to her website, and that's nancygrabetti.com, okay? And Tracy Becker, do you have anything else you want to set out?
Nothing currently that's happening. Just came off the transformational giveaway, and that was a big success. And all of you that are following, I hope that you got to download a whole bunch of cool stuff and tips and tools and techniques to keep around and fill up your mental, emotional, and spiritual toolbox. So that was a really great thing. Of course, there's been some new releases on Umbana, so if you want to go see what I'm up for, you can just type in my name on Umbana. The app is now on Androids, you know.
Oh, it is.
It's on
oh,
iPhone,
it is.
it's
Yay!
on Android now, so that's really cool. So yeah, don't know what I'm up to next. So just hanging out and having a blast, right?
Having a blast. I know you have some really cool videos that are coming out on Vimeo, or you have it in your newsletter. So I'm hoping we also have some nice testimonials for that. But if you want to go and see what Tracy Becker's doing, just go to tracybecker.com, and like I said, there's 6 free meditations to sign up for that she's going to give out. And Jennifer, would you have anything to add?
Yeah, just I have that ebook. It's only about 20 pages, and it talks about the 7 deadly distractions. There's lots of tips, different ideas, everything from how to get in touch with someone like Tracy Becker if you needed healing, but other different real-world little tips, you know, how to start small and how deadly distractions, you know, can affect you. And if you need anything else, just go to jennifermarketing.com. I do counseling and coaching all the time, or consulting and coaching, not counseling. That's a Tracy Becker deal. And can't think of anything else. Oh, 9 Gaming Company. I want to give a shout out. We're going to another Microsoft competition. We won some more products through Microsoft, and they are seriously considering us to be a Microsoft-sponsored developer. So I'm really proud of you guys, and glad to be part of the team.
Awesome. And where do they get the 20-page book again?
They give it on our website. In fact, right now
Okay.
it's on our website right underneath the live link, and then it'll be on our Facebook and on our Twitter, and, you know, how we always do our handouts. So.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody here today, and we all thank everybody that is listening and that'll re-listen in the future. Please let us know if you have any questions, testimonials. Once again, that's at info@TheBlastNetwork.com. And to see more of what we're doing, you can actually just go to TheBlastNetwork.com. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.